Have you guys ever had to trust someone with your life? I think for me, one of the first times that I've actually had that happen was when I was at a summer camp and I climbed up a tower. It was about 10 feet tall, and everyone else in my group stood below. They had their hands out and we were told to turn with our backs towards them and just trust that they would catch us. And at first I didn't think it would be that big of a deal, but once you get up that high and you start to realize that 10 feet is a lot taller than you think it is, and you realize, man, I'm probably gonna get hurt if they don't catch me. And for myself, particularly, I was a football player, so I was like, man, I got some weight on me that they're gonna have to catch. It started to really make me nervous to be falling down into these people's arms. But ultimately, I made the decision to trust them. I fell, and good news, they caught me. I don't know if you've ever been in a situation where you've had to trust someone with everything, but what we're going to talk about tonight, the trust that God calls for us to have, and why the book of Proverbs tells us that we should trust in the Lord with everything that we have. Guys, tonight we're going to be walking through Proverbs 3, 5 through 6. And these are some of the most foundational, these are some of the most favorite verses that people have in Scripture, because it's, one, easy to remember, but two, it really does lay a solid foundation for the way that we approach our lives as Christians. And so I'm going to read it for you. Proverbs 3, 5 through 6 says, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart and do not lean on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge Him, and He will make your paths straight." Man, that's a huge verse. I don't know if you guys have heard that before, but we're going to unpack this together tonight. First, I want to talk about this word trust. That's how this scripture passage starts, and it says that we have to trust in the Lord. Now, I think we use this word a lot in society. We tell our friends, "I trust you," or we tell our parents, I trust you, but maybe the way that we trust our parents is a little bit different than the trust that we have for some of our just like acquaintance friends that we hang out with school. Like, when we really trust our parents, it's because we know they've pretty much always fed us our entire lives, and we know that they have our best interests in heart, and so we trust them, and we know it's real and sincere. But some friends that we say we trust, maybe we don't actually tell everything about our own lives because we're not really 100% sure that they would keep it to themselves and that it wouldn't be known to everybody else in their circle if we shared it with them. And so this word trust, we need to figure out what is being said here, because we use it 1,000 different ways. But in this scripture, I think trust really could relate to faith. It's placing our faith in God, which is a huge deal. Like, as a Christian, the call for us is to place our faith in Jesus and to trust Him with our entire lives. And so this calling of trust is different. And to illustrate, I want to tell you a story. There's this TV show on the Science Channel. Shout out to any of you guys who've ever watched the Science Channel like I have. But there's this guy named Todd, and he's a scientist. And he says that he has faith in science. Now, I think that's an incredible thing to hear a scientist say. He says he has faith in science, and he puts that faith to the test on these TV shows. He says that science is so reliable that he's willing to put his life on the line to prove scientific methods and proofs. And so he's done cool things. He's taken a wrecking ball and he stood behind it, and he knew from some rule in science that it wouldn't hit his face if he just let it drop. And so you'd watch this man sit here knowing that his face is going to get crushed if the wrecking ball, even 1 ounce of pressure was added that didn't need to be. But because he trusted so much, had so much faith in science, he wasn't scared. He didn't even flinch. And sure enough, the wrecking ball didn't smash his face. I think another time that I watched it, he actually folded yellow page phone books together, and he made those as the middle end of a bungee cord. And then this man, because he had so much faith in the amount of pressure and the amount of hold in these books, actually leaped from a ledge of 100 feet with a bungee cord that was broken in half and only connected by interwoven phone books. A man had faith that's a little bit more than maybe some of the trust that we say we have for our friends or just for the people down the street. He had serious trust in science and what it says. For us as Christians, what the proverb that we're reading of tonight tells us is that we have to have faith like that. We have to have trust so much in the Lord that we would go anywhere and do anything. In fact, so much trust, it says that we don't even think about what we think is right, but instead we look to the Lord and see what He says is right. And when he tells us to go, we say, okay, we're going, because I trust you so much. I trust you with my entire life that I know you have the best plan in store for me. And so even if it makes absolutely no sense on my end, I'm still going to go with the Lord. I'm still going to follow him. And the Bible makes us almost a promise in this passage. It says, if you, in all your ways, everything you do, acknowledge him, ask him for guidance, look for him, and place your faith and trust in him, he'll make your path straight. They won't be winding. They won't go places you don't want to go. They will lead you exactly where God has intended for you to be. That's an incredible promise, and it all rests in the amount of trust, the amount of faith that we have in God. And so tonight, what wisdom teaches us is that the best thing that we can trust is Jesus. The best thing that we can trust is our God. And so tonight I want to encourage you as a family, talk about some of the ways that maybe you have put your trust in God in the past. Mom and dad, if you're watching with your students, maybe think of a time where it was pretty difficult for you to place your faith in Jesus, but you chose to. And tell them of the reward, of the greatness that I know happened because you chose to follow God instead of maybe what made sense to you. Maybe if you're sitting around with your brother and sister, talk about a time where when you were in school and you had an option to go one way with the wrong crowd, but another option to go the right way with the right crowd, and you prayed and asked the Lord to go that way. Talk about it. Talk about how there was goodness in the decisions that you made because you put your trust, your faith, and your hope in God. Guys, if you haven't done that, I want to invite you to start doing that. It's never too late to seek wisdom. It's never too late to look to the Lord and start to acknowledge him, as our scriptures say, with the ways that we live our lives. And so tonight, my prayer is that we would go before the Father and say, Lord, I trust you. I don't just trust you in some of the ways that I casually trust the people around me, but with everything that I have, I trust you with my whole heart. And I want you to be the one that leads me. And so in everything that I do, Lord, be the one to lead my paths. Make them straight.